Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the grand poobah. Yes, I am the founder and editor-in-chief of The Gaming Gang. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. This is episode 526 of The Daily Dope. If this is your first time joining me, let me point out, it's very, very casual, just hanging out, talking about the latest tabletop gaming news of the day. So we talk about board games, card games, role-playing games, miniatures games, war games, and more. If it's going on your tabletop, we're probably discussing it. Every once in a while, we'll talk a little bit about PC games as well as pop culture. For the most part, though, it's all tabletop gaming around here. So, of course, do want to mention as well, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And, of course, if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that little notification bell. It will not only let you know when episodes of the Daily Dope stream live right here on YouTube, Monday through Thursday nights, it'll also let you know when I upload my other videos, such as my reviews and unboxings and first looks, page throughs, convention coverage when we actually have conventions, interviews, and so on. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Also, because this is a live stream, that also means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you'd like to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. So far, we've got a Gray Day and Flaming Huron hanging out in chat. Welcome aboard, gents. Got a lot of news tonight. So hopefully the audio is a little bit louder. I know there were some comments last night that it was a little quieter, and then I think somebody had commented on the actual rendered video on YouTube that the audio was a little low. So I bumped it a little bit, not a ton, because I don't want to get like kind of clipping on the audio and that. So let me know in chat if the audio sounds okay or not. Want to point out, I got a lot of news tonight. I am actually, for the first time ever, going to talk about 4 Kickstarters. That's right, 4 different Kickstarters. I usually don't cover that many Kickstarters in a week on the Gaming Gang or the Daily Dope, so this is kind of unusual. So we're going to jump in because I got a lot of videos to share with you as well. So first off, up for crowdfunding on Kickstarter for Eagle-Gryphon Games and Game Brewer is Arkwright, the card game. Here's the dope. In the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution starts. The first factories are founded by businessmen like Richard Arkwright, who run the first factory for wool spinning with machines like the Spinning Jenny and the water frame. In Arkwright, the card game, you run a business and you will employ workers in your factories to produce and sell goods. The more workers that have a job, the more goods that can be sold. But be prepared for crises and competitors. The game is played in 3 decades, 1770, 1780, and 1790, with 4 rounds per decade. On your turn, you play new cards to open factories and upgrade existing ones. Select improvements, improve factory quality, build machines, and employ new workers. You also pay money to improve your stock holdings and take out loans if you require more money for production costs. After the card playing phase, you can improve abilities by marking improvements on your score sheet. Now, each factory for each type of good will produce. The market fluctuates with demand, and the demand may be lower than the value you produce, decreasing your profit. Workers in these factories must be paid, and machines operating in your play area need regular maintenance. So it's possible you'll lose money instead of turning a profit. That's kind of how business works, right? Selling enough of one good will improve your shareholdings, and there are bonuses for having the highest appeal. Yeah, I always like to have a little bit of appeal. Lastly, if you can't sell in England, you can ship goods overseas or store them for future rounds. After the final round of the 1790 decade, the game ends. Players will sell all storehouse goods, reduce the number of shares they hold by the number of loans, and reduce further based on their personal shipping track. Then each player multiplies the number of shares by the value of his shares to determine the score. A little bit of multiplication and addition and subtraction. Maybe some division thrown in there. I don't know. A lot of math. Math is hard. Anyway, the player with the highest score wins the game. There is a short Kickstarter video. It's going to show this off a little bit more, so it's not just me blabbing on about it. So let's kick back and give it a watch.
It's the end of the 18th century, the start of the Industrial Revolution. Innovative entrepreneurs like Richard Arkwright built and exploited the new factory system. Based on the highly appraised Arkwright board game by Stefan Risthaus, Arkwright the card game is a fierce economic competition for market dominance. Build and upgrade factories, employ workers, automate production, add quality or raise the appeal of products, buy shares or take loans when necessary, all to develop factories into the most modern and efficient businesses in all the land. Once underway, it's time to sell. Determine a competitive price and sell goods to the home market. Store overproduced goods or send ships to export them to the far reaches of the world. Selling high volumes of goods will increase the company's share value. But beware, startup costs are expensive and profits are low in this competitive market. Don't grow too fast. Look out for opportunities and invest wisely in new technologies. The player with the most valuable stack of shares owns the best business and wins the game. Arkwright, the card game, from designer Stephen Risthaus, is a highly economical strategic game for up to 4 players. It's a big game in a small, affordable box.
Arkwright, the card game, is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in around an hour and a half, thereabouts. You can reserve a copy of the game and unlock stretch goals because it is 100% funded. It did reach its funding goal yesterday. You can reserve a copy of the game for a $29 pledge through September 3rd with an expected delivery date of June 2021. This looks kind of interesting. I got to say, I'm not like huge on like economic games usually, but I do enjoy games where you're basically engine building or plateau building. I get a kick out of those. This kind of strikes me a little bit like that. So could be very interesting. And those of you out there who do like historical economic games, is probably right up your alley. So I do want to mention that Dan from No Enemies Here, as well as John Vogel, have arrived in chat. And no, Mr. Vogel, no Cubs scores. Although he said Cubes game, and I know he meant the Cubs. Moving right along, let's hit my second of 4 Kickstarters, because Vinyl Big Band Edition and Vinyl Jukebox are up on Kickstarter for Talon Strike Studios. Here's the dope. One weekend, you find yourself cleaning the family attic. During your cleaning, you stumble upon an old turntable and a small collection of vinyl records. You blow the dust off and bring the find downstairs to the den. After setting it up, you place the needle down on an album you vaguely remember hearing when you were very young. As the album spins under the needle, you sit back and look at the album cover and insert. Warm sounds begin to fill the room as you are instantly transported to another world. You listen to the wonderful notes playing while following along with the lyrics. After the needle reaches the center, you shoot up out of your chair and hop on the computer. You want more. You're addicted. You're addicted, man. You locate the nearest record store, Record Town. You hop in the car, not really knowing what to expect. After arriving and parking the car, you pull back on the door into a musical paradise. Welcome to Vinyl. Vinyl is a game where players are aspiring vinyl collectors. They have some knowledge of what they would like to collect, but immediately get immersed in the experience. Players will acquire morsels of information after visiting the mag rack. Sounds strangely perverse there for some strange reason. That information will lead them to the bins where they select albums to add and expand their collection. Albums can be played at the listening booth to increase the value of a player's collection and their ability to collect even more albums. Unfortunately, the inventory is limited and other customers may be targeting the same vinyl gems. After the final round is concluded, players will tally their collection's value and determine who is the elite collector of vinyl. This Kickstarter features an opportunity to score, once again, the base game. There is a new expansion, Big Band, and also a new 2-player edition, Jukebox. And all of that will be explained in this short Kickstarter video. The base game of Vinyl is for 1 to 5 players, ages 10 and up. It plays in around an hour. There are a variety of different pledge levels available for Vinyl, which I believe this is also another Kickstarter that just recently hit its funding goal. I think that may have been yesterday as well. Could have been earlier today, I believe. But you can score the base game and 1 expansion, I do believe, for a $30 pledge. You can get Jukebox, which is a standalone 2-player edition of Vinyl, which I believe is set in the 50s. And that is available for a $16 pledge. This Kickstarter is going to run through August 21st. And I got to be honest, I missed where the expected delivery was. I think it's next year. I think it's, if I remember correctly, I think it's January of next year. This looks like fun. So Dan from No Enemies Here was actually naming off the 3 musical acts that he actually knows. Because I understand Dan is very similar to Ulysses S. Grant. Ulysses S. Grant knew 2 songs. So one was, if I remember right, I think he said it was Battle Hymn of the Republic, and the other one wasn't. Yes, Charlie freaking Parker. Yes, Dan, the bird is on the cover of the big band, or it's, well, it's kind of supposed to be. So, yes. So, Kabuki Kid has joined us in chat and says, bass game. Is there a guitar game too? Yeah, there's a lead guitar game. So, you got those who play the bass and those who are going to play lead guitar. Craig Martin is in chat joining us as well. Kabuki Kid says January seems pretty ambitious. You know what? If anybody has an opportunity in chat, for some reason, I don't know why I did not, because there's so much stuff going on. Like I said, I'm talking about 4 Kickstarters today. So I wanted to make sure I had everything set up. I don't have videos on the wrong spots or anything like that. I forgot to grab when this is expected to deliver, but I could have sworn it is supposed to be January of next year. So as Dan from No Enemies here is chuckling along. All right. Anyway, this sounds kind of cool. And as far as I understand, I believe Talon Strike Studios is just a small game company. They're in Arizona. For some reason, I want to say they're in Surprise, Arizona. Surprise! Which, game companies in Arizona. I used to live out in Arizona. I was out there for about 10 years. So I have a little soft spot, right? There's a reason I'm always talking about Gamelin Games and my pal Michael Coe, right? So there you go. Before I jump into the next news piece, one thing I did want to mention is yesterday, right as we were coming to the end of the show, I had talked about how on Monday I had to go have a nuclear stress test. And a lot of folks were at the end of the show were saying, hey, Jeff, hey, hopefully everything's all's well and, take care of your heart and things like that. Thank you so much. Just wanted to thank everybody because that stuff was popping up in chat as I was, closing out the show. So that sometimes does happen when I'm finishing up a show. Somebody starts, tweeting, typing something out in chat. And I don't want it to seem like, I'm not paying attention. So Kabuki Kid is asking, is the heart healthy? Well, I have a stent. I think we've discussed that in the past. And originally, the one cardiologist, when I was, wheeled in to the emergency, it was cardiology actually that they wheeled me in from. They had, the one cardiologist wanted to do a bypass. He was like, oh, we got to do a bypass. And then another cardiologist said, no, we don't need to do a bypass. Just, there was talk about putting a few stents, but I have one. So once again, I got the test results yesterday. I took a look at them, but it's all Greek. It doesn't tell you anything. Plus, of course, it's not giving you images of anything. So there's that. So Dan from No Enemies here says, oh, I didn't know this. Dan didn't know that I had a near fatal heart attack 2.5 years ago, which actually started during the show because I used to do the show in the afternoons. Yeah, it was crazy. It's pretty wild. But yes, thank you everybody for pointing that out. The doctor parsed everything. No, I won't know until Monday. That is my follow-up with my cardiologist who has zero sense of humor. So supposedly she's very paranoid about COVID-19, which, let's be honest, there's a reason why you should be, right? Let's not be that, no offense to anybody out there in your political views, but come on. Wear a fucking mask, people. Let's get real here. Let's not be complete idiots. But I was told that don't be surprised if she comes in with the hazmat suit. Remember we were talking about that yesterday? So I am so tempted to sit here. Should be sitting there when and she's like, oh, so how you feeling? I should be like, yeah, I feel pretty good. Some reason I couldn't taste the coffee this morning. And just watch her be like, meow, eyes bugging out. Oh. Flaming Heron says, first pledge level for Vinyl Big Band Edition and Vinyl Jukebox says July. There we go. Okay, so July for the expected release dates in August for the rest. Because yes, I believe they're producing a new edition of the core game. I think. I'm not positive. Like I said, I am not familiar with any of the releases from Talon Strike Studios, which I think Vinyl is their only game. But it seems like they got a few. Here's one last thing that I was going to say. Let's go back to that little bit of news there. So they were showing 1975 for their Masters of Metal. There you go. Kabuki Kid says, core game, I thought it was the base game. So they were showing 1975 for Masters of Metal. I would not say 1975 is the era of metal, especially the metal that they're showing. Hard rock, yeah, certainly. Zeppelin, of course, right? But no, I wouldn't say the 70s, especially 1975, is metal. Anyway, because I mean, they're showing like they're supposed to be like takeoffs of like Metallica and Pantera and things like that. It's like, no, that wasn't 75. Hey, that's just me though. All right, so moving along, let's talk about my third Kickstarter of the night. Zenescope Entertainment has launched a Kickstarter for a new card game. I've got the dope on Tarot, a Game of Souls. Since the dawn of time, Ceres and Death have battled each other over the souls of evil mortals. Ceres, the goddess of death, has promised great power to the soul hunter who brings her the most mortal souls. But Death, the Grim Reaper, has his own plans on winning this ages-old battle. The penalty for defying him is to join the souls he claims. Will you succeed in bringing Ceres the souls she desires and be elevated to her court? Or will your soul be taken by Death and be doomed to serve his whims for all eternity? The Game of Souls will decide your fate. Battle your opponents in a game of skill and luck to see who can claim the most souls for Ceres, the goddess of death. This card game is based on coup d'etat, first played within the dungeons of France over 2 centuries ago. So there is a, well, okay, I don't want to say it's quick. It's about 2.5 minutes. There is a video available for this Kickstarter. It is actually with the CEO of Zenescope Entertainment. And yes, it is pronounced Zenescope, not Zenescope. So let's kick back and give it a quick watch.
Hey guys, Joe Brusha here, CEO of Zenescope Entertainment, and I'm excited to tell you about our first ever card game which we're launching on Kickstarter. The game is Tarot, a Game of Souls, and it's based on Coup d'etat, a game that was first played in the dungeons of France over 200 years ago. We've adapted this game to our Grim Universe and our Tarot miniseries, and it's based on those characters. This is a trick-taking game, and unlike most trick-taking games where the object is to actually capture cards, in Tarot, Game of Souls, the object is to avoid taking cards and to force your opponents to take them. Each player takes turns playing as a soul hunter and collecting souls for Ceres, the goddess of death. As a soul hunter, you play a sequence of hands with different objectives. For example, one hand is called Death by Swords, where the objective is to take as few swords as possible. Another hand is called Lady Death, and the object of that hand is to take as few queens as possible. But there is a twist, and this is where the coup d'etat comes in, where you can attempt to actually take over the soul hunter as the thief of souls, and then the objective changes. For anyone who's ever played the game Dragon Master, which was released by Milton Bradley in the early 80s, you'll be instantly familiar with our game. That game was also based on coup d'etat. I used to play it a lot as a kid, along with hearts, spades, scat, all the different trick-taking games. So thanks for taking the time to check out our Kickstarter. We hope that you back this project so we can bring you this really cool game. You can follow us here on Kickstarter. We'll be updating the campaign very regularly. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or check us out at Zenescope.com. Thanks again for checking in, and we really hope you support this project on Kickstarter.
Tarot, a game of souls, is for 3 or 4 players. As far as I can understand, I got to be honest, the Kickstarter does not make that extremely clear. They talk about playing with 3 players. They also talk about playing with 4 players. So my assumption is 3 or 4 players. I would say because the artwork, even though it's just a lot of cleavage, that's how Zenescope operates. They do kind of the pinup style artwork for many of their covers and that. Although the misconception that their comics have like nudity in them is not right. It's not true. But anyway, you can reserve a copy of this game for a $25 pledge through September 8th. This has an expected delivery of January 2021. If you like kind of like the good girl art and the Zenescope style of artwork, this might not be too bad. It's essentially, it looks like this is a trick-taking game. And $25, yeah, you can do a lot worse. So I do notice there's a lot of discussion going on still about vinyl. It's a bunch of discussion going on about heavy metal. And Kabuki Kid, as well as a Gray Day, are talking about different bands and that. And the funny thing is, as that video was playing, I'm watching this go by, and they're like AC/DC. A Gray Day brought up AC/DC. I never considered AC/DC heavy metal. And Kabuki Kid says the same exact thing as I'm thinking it. So they're talking a little bit about, Kiss. I never considered Kiss to be heavy metal either. Hard rock, yeah, but, not metal. Iron Maiden, yep, there's a classic. I remember a band my brother was really into metal. I was more punk rock. So I was into the alternative music. So, but I listened to a lot of the stuff my brother listened to too. And there was a band. Somebody out there is going to have to tell me if I remember the name of this band right. I think they were called Accept, like Accept Your Fate. It was called Accept, and they had a song, and it was called Balls to the Wall. You got your balls to the wall, man. So, and it's funny. That's one of the songs. And yep, Judas Priest, that was another band. The Scorpions. I don't think anybody mentioned the Scorpions. Scorpions were really big for a while. But yeah, I would say like 79-ish was kind of the start. Even until like the 90s is more like the era of metal. So A Great Day says, yes, there was that band. So the singer swinging in on a wrecking ball in the music video. Yes, just like, what's her name? Right. Although I'm sure he was dressed. There you go. Another great German band, says Kabuki Kid. The Scorps. Ah, yes. All right. So, hey, and we've got Jason Washburn is hanging out and says, thanks for looking at vinyl. So I'm going to take a guess that Jason must have an affiliation with Talon Strike Studios. Just my guess. Just taking a guess. So anyway, Jason, if you ever want any video coverage, any video reviews of your releases, if you are, oh, there he goes, says the owner of the company. Just let me know. Reach out to me. Michael Coe's good pal of mine. So your fellow Arizona game companies. Anyway, let's move on to our next game. Actually, you know what? Let's finish talking a little bit about tarot, because I know I saw some comments there. They got to tone that box cover down. I agree. I have to agree on that. And Zenescope is it's a comic company. If you're not familiar, Grimm Fairy Tales is their big series. Well, to them, it's big. To other comic companies, it's not big. But speaking of comics, couple of people have emailed me asking what I thought of the bloodbath that took place at DC Comics. I will talk a little bit about that when we're finished with the news, if we have time. Because as I mentioned, we're talking about a lot of Kickstarters tonight. And it is Wednesday. You know I love to talk about war games on Wednesday. The next game I'm going to talk about is not a Kickstarter, though. So now available from Hexasim through GMT Games is Great War Commander British Expeditionary Force. Here's the dope. Great War Commander British Expeditionary Force, say that 5 times fast, is an expansion for Great War Commander. Great War Commander BEF's main theme is the addition of a new faction. You guessed it, Great Britain and their dominions. The second game in the Great War Commander game series includes units, cards, and scenarios depicting the fighting forces of this great nation. Do want to point out that's a little misleading because it's not a standalone game, so I'm kind of surprised that it's being referenced as a second game in the series. Great War Commander BEF includes more than 200 counters depicting the British forces, weapons, and tanks. Great Britain's own 72-card Fate deck and 9-card strategy deck, highlighting its historical strengths and weaknesses. This also includes 16 new scenarios and 1 campaign, which takes place on the most iconic battlefields where the BEF fought. Mons, Nouvelle-Chapelle, the Somme, Villers-Bretonneux. Yeah, my pronunciations are all terrible. And more. They will take place on 10 new stunning maps drawn by the talented Mark von Marshall. There's a random scenario generator, which has been updated, incorporating the new nationalities and new battles. This random scenario generator system provides an almost unending variety of map configurations, force structures, and combat situations. Replayability for Great War Commander gets even better with this new addition to the family. Like its mother game, Combat Commander, Great War Commander is one of those rare exceptional values in board wargaming. It's kind of odd. Why didn't they just say wargaming? A game that can be revisited time and time again, each time with a new story to tell. Great War Commander BEF also includes an updated rulebook, version 1.1, incorporating all known errata and clarifications. Do want to note, see, now I mentioned this earlier. This is why I thought this was a little strange for them to mention that this is the second game in the series. It says Great War Commander British Expeditionary Force is not a standalone game. You need to own Great War Commander in order to play it. Great War Commander British Expeditionary Force is for 2 or 3 players. It's for ages 12 and up, plays in around 2 hours, and does carry an MSRP of $65. So there is some discussion in chat talking about who is this released through. It's from Hexasim, and it's being sold, at least here in the U.S., by GMT. I do understand now, I ran across this information yesterday. I do understand there are about 200 copies that GMT has available. So that I want to float out there. And of course, whenever I do my reviews or unboxings for GMT, any of their releases, I always tell you, hey, they've got small print runs. Hexasim makes GMT's print runs look massive. So if you have any interest at all, I did take a look, and Great War Commander, the core game, is still available through GMT. So it might make for a nice package deal, because I do believe it is kind of it's a bit of an homage a little bit to Combat Commander, Chad Jensen's series, the late great Chad Jensen. So if you like World War One, and in my opinion, there aren't enough World War One war games out there, really aren't. And Combat Commander is a good series, so might be worth taking a peek at. All right, so my final Kickstarter piece is from Free League Publishing, because they launched their Kickstarter for an all-new edition of the classic GDW role-playing game Twilight 2000. Did it earlier today. I know we have talked about this in the past. I've got the dope. Calais. Shit. We're still only in Calais. We need to get out of here fast. The artillery barrages are getting closer. The Soviets will be here soon. Sarge says we move out after dark. I'm not sure we'll last that long. Classic role-playing game returns. The new retro-apocalyptic edition of Twilight 2000, published in partnership with Game Designers Workshop, goes back to the roots of the franchise with a boxed set for sandbox role-playing and the devastation of World War III. The new edition will be the fourth in the series, the first being released by GDW in 1984. Psst, I owned that. Just like the original version, the new edition is set in a year 2000 devastated by war, now in an alternate timeline where the Moscow coup of 1991 succeeded and the Soviet Union never collapsed. Making RPGs and box sets is expensive. For some reason, reading that, I just feel like it's like, math is hard. I don't know why. Making RPGs and box sets is expensive. But we really feel it's the right way to go for Twilight 2000, bringing back the feel of the first edition of the game with that iconic Poland map. If we reach our base funding goal, which they did in 7 minutes, just so you know, the box set will at the very least include 2 beautifully illustrated full-color books, a player's manual and a referee's manual, each of about 100 pages, detailing rules, setting, gear, and scenarios, as well as several empty character sheets, I would say blank character sheets, and a huge full-color travel map. 864 by 558 millimeters, everybody. So start doing math in your head if you're in the U.S. Anyway, this full-color travel map is of central Poland on one side and southern Sweden on the other, because yes, Sweden is actually an alternate setting for the game. If we exceed our base goal, we will add more content to the box set as stretch goals. These include combat maps and tokens, cards for initiative and encounters, custom dice, additional content in the books, and more. As of this afternoon, they had knocked off like 6 of their 11 stretch goals already. So already banged that out. The Twilight 2000 Kickstarter, as I mentioned, funded in the first 7 minutes. That's right. And we've got, you guessed it, a short Kickstarter video. So let's jump on in and take a look. The Twilight 2000 Kickstarter kicked off this morning. As I mentioned, it reached its funding goal in 7 minutes. You can reserve a copy of the box set for a $57 pledge. There is a limited edition box set, which will be in a metal box. It's like an ammunition box almost. Not quite, but it's supposed to be an ammo box. You can pledge your support through September 3rd. This has an expected release in June of 2021. Do you want to mention, though, that Free League has already pointed out that you will receive, an advanced PDF sometime this fall. Not too shabby. I did interview Tomas Hammerstein. I believe that's how it's pronounced. not too long ago, and we did actually discuss Twilight 2000 in some detail. So here are a few things that I know about that I think are pretty cool. There is loads and loads of information on the Kickstarter page about this. I only shared a little bit because we weren't going to sit here talking about this forever. But it is going to use a modified version of the Year Zero system, the D6 based system that Free League likes to utilize. It's going to be modified. I guess if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be a little less randomness, I guess. And they are going for a much more gritty feel to the proceedings than any of their other role-playing games that they've previously published, which they have done quite a few over at Free League. So this is something I am very interested in. Very, very interested in checking out. Looks like there's going to be quite a bit packed into their starter set, which I have to say is good because their Tales from the Loop starter set was a bit... I felt for $30 you weren't getting a whole lot. But something else that I noticed, we'll wait for the artwork to come by again. Right here, take a look. It's supposed to be, I believe it's a woman who's a soldier, and they are holding that M16 completely wrong. It's like, okay, kind of weird. So I don't know about folks out there, if you're excited about this or not. I do notice that there is kind of a two threads of conversation that are going on right now. Jason Washburn, the owner of Talon Strike Studios, is discussing the various different possible expansions that could be coming for vinyl, while other people are talking about Twilight 2000. Who was it I just saw? Oh, Dan's got to run out. All right, good to see you, Dan. Catch you later, my friend. Thanks for popping in. Somebody just mentioned that they had Twilight 2000. I think it was a Gray Day. Mentioned it might have been yeah, there you go. A Gray Day just said my GDW version is 2 feet away from him. I always thought Twilight 2000 was cool. Frank Chadwick was like the lead designer on this back in the day, back in '84. And funny enough, I had all this stuff. So did a couple of my other friends in high school. And we never ran it. I don't know. We just, once again, this was another role-playing game where it seemed like we'd pick stuff up all the time. And we enjoyed reading it, but we never played. So I don't know. But I always felt the actual game system itself, not so great. So Kabuki Kid is pushing the base game, BASS game for vinyl. There you go. There you go. Kabuki Kid, make sure, double K, make sure that you get some residuals on that. Don't miss out on that. As Double K also points out, that Twilight 2000 was not a game that they ever had a chance to play. So Grade A says GDW was based on the basic role play system. Yeah, it was kind of, but it was just clunkier. I don't know what the deal was. It's been a long, long time. And then I got to be honest, we got one more news piece, which we'll jump into in just a minute. But I remember, I think the second edition that they came out with of Twilight 2000 was just kind of crappy. I don't remember it being all that great. So, just like when I interviewed Tomas over at Free League, or Free League, as it's actually called, the real name of the company, not our American translation of it. But we were talking about it, and I asked if Frank Chadwick was involved at all in this, and he said no, he was not involved at all in this new edition. So I was kind of like, So Grade A points out, yes, they were trying to update their game system to a D20. Yeah, I seem to recall that. Most of the stuff that we had was all first edition. Like Free City Krakow, isn't that one of the adventures? The other thing I should mention, I know I'm going off on a tangent again. One of the things I recall from the GDW edition was you would get these adventures, and the adventures were more source book than adventure. And that was kind of a GDW thing. If you look at a lot of their Traveler stuff, they weren't great at putting together actual adventures. It was, wow, that's a pretty cool setting. Wow, that's some pretty cool gear, kind of cool characters. Underlying story to the adventure, just really non-existent a lot of times. So a great Ace talking about Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I liked Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Well, I got to admit, I liked the comic too. But that was another role-playing game I picked up. Never ran it. So I've said it time and time again. I wish I had all that stuff. All those games I had back in the day. Yeah, I'd have, if I wanted to sell them, I'd be sitting pretty, because I would have stuff that very, 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 very rare to find these days. All right. So Jason Washburn asks, when am I, well, I don't know, maybe you talk about me. When am I covering the sniper game, Sniper Elite? It is on the horizon. It is on the horizon to get some news out about that. I actually already have all my news done for tomorrow. So I've been like way ahead on my news. Usually, I've mentioned this in the past. Usually I put the news together the morning of the show, and then through the afternoon, I put the little slides and that together. But I have actually been jumping the gun and leaving like one spot open for something that might pop in. So Jason says they'll tune in when I cover Sniper Elite. All I'll be doing is talking about the game. I mean, I'm not going to review it. I don't have a copy of it or anything like that. I don't have a prototype of it. So by all means, Jason, keep an eye out on the gaminggang.com, because I will have news of vinyl in a news post tomorrow. So that's how I tend to do the Daily Dope. I'll share the news in the evening on the show, and then the next morning it's up as news items on the website. Let's move on to our last news piece, because now available in softcover and PDF is the Delta Green Adventure PX Poker Night. This is a revamped version, because I think this originally came out in 2013. Anyway, here's the dope from Arc Dream Publishing. The sky's the limit. A dozen Air Force misfits and malcontents have gone from misconduct charges or stretches in the stockade to a post even they can't screw up. Platt Air Force Base, a place where aircraft and careers go to die. The middle of nowhere, Nebraska. Saturday is the one night a week that everyone can look forward to. It's a chance to unwind. It started in the Post Exchange decades ago, back when Platt still belonged to the Army. The tradition stands today. Saturday is PX Poker Night. It's Saturday, August 22nd, 1998. An unmarked van rolls in and parks at the far end of the fields. Guards in bizarre metal helmets get out and keep watch. Nobody knows why they're here. The base commander says they're under orders. Everyone is to leave them alone. Poker Night is about to take a turn for the bizarre and the deadly. PX Poker Night is a scenario for Delta Green, the role-playing game, available from Arc Dream Publishing. It includes 6 pre-generated characters who could become Delta Green friendlies or agents, if they make it through the night, that is. This 32-page adventure is available in soft cover for $14.99 or in PDF. These are both through Drive-Thru RPG. You get the PDF for $4.99. Do also want to mention the fine folks over at Arc Dream Publishing are sending me this adventure to review. So keep that in mind. So it is available, like I said, in softcover as well as in PDF at Drive-Thru RPG. And whenever I mention Drive-Thru RPG, keep in mind that the Gaming Gang and thus the Daily Dope are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banners, and that way, if you happen to make a purchase, I will get a small portion of that sale. Also, coming up later on this week, I will have my review of The Labyrinth for Delta Green, also from Arc Green Publishing. So keep an eye out for that. I will have a page through and review. So Kabuki Kid popped out, going out for a haircut. Good deal. So we'll catch you later, Double K. So, having to go cut their boyfriend's hair. Got it. So, a Grade A asked if I saw the Kickstarter for Old School Essentials Advanced. I have not. Old School Essentials looks really good. And I'm trying to remember if I've reached out to, isn't it the Necrotic Gnome? Isn't that the company that makes it? I don't. There's so many hundreds of companies. Like, I'm going to try to keep them all in my head, right? I'm trying to remember if I reached out to see about maybe doing a review of it or not, because some of the folks who are part of kind of the OSR movement know that I'm pretty friendly to OSR. Some people are, I don't know. I mean, granted, if somebody's a right-wing nut job, no, I'm not reviewing their stuff. But just because people like the old style of role-playing games does not necessarily mean that they're whacked, right? So I'll have to check it out. I will have to take a look. I do have an open slot for tomorrow's news. So you never know. We'll see what's going on. Plus, it's Thursday. Everybody knows I like to go a little heavier on role-playing game news on Thursdays as opposed to the rest of the week. So we'll see. I'll double check that. I'll take a peek at that. Anyway, last thing I wanted to talk about real quickly before we wrap up, because we're approaching the hour mark. So I'd received a couple of emails. Folks were just kind of curious what I thought about what was going on with DC and DC Comics with Warner Brothers. And if you're not up to speed on what's been going on, about a third of the editorial membership of DC has been let go. And Jim Lee was the publisher. Jim Lee is no longer publisher. They're saying he's still with the company, but he's not the publisher. So I'm going to take a guess he's probably more creative end of things now, just keeping him on as a creative type, right? So when AT&T bought Warner Brothers, you kind of saw the writing on the wall for this. At least I did. Especially when we saw, I'm not going to go too inside baseball about this stuff because, number one, we don't really talk comics that much, right? Of course, on the Gaming Gang, we do have our comic news every week. So you get to see what releases are coming out from the major publishers. And once in a while, we'll have some, news pieces and that. But the Gaming Gang is not necessarily known for our comic book coverage. That said, I think it was pretty obvious that there were going to be major changes when we started to see the shows that were on the DC universe scattering all over the place, right? We've got shows that went over to HBO Max, like Doom Patrol, which I think is actually really good. I have not watched the second season yet, though. So we also had, I think, is Teen Titans over there now? I'm not sure if Teen Titans is over on HBO Max. I do know the Harley Quinn cartoon went over there. We had Stargirl go over to the CW. So basically, the DC universe had nothing really exclusive to them any longer, except for maybe Teen Titans. And I assumed that was going to be going over to HBO Max. because that seems to be HBO Max is the focus right now for Warner Brothers. That is their that is their eye on that prize right now. And they're going to do everything they can to make it successful because it has not gone over all that well yet. So we saw a bunch of people get shit canned over at DC Comics, and DC Universe is no more. So they pulled the plug on that. That's done. That's gone. So that is out the window. DC Collectibles. This was something I was very surprised by. They're shutting the doors on DC Collectibles, which is very weird because they made money on DC Collectibles. Just like the recent, well, I guess it wasn't that recent. What, about a year ago? A little more than that. The DC Black label, which is kind of like their mature line because they retired Vertigo, which I don't know why they did that. But the folks who are in charge of that, they've been let go. So some outlets have been calling it a bloodbath because, in essence, they're thinking that about a third of the employees overall who worked under contract to DC Comics are all gone. So people are asking, so what do I think? Is DC getting out of the comic book business? Well, here's the truth of things, right? I don't see comics going anywhere yet. Now, there have been discussions over at Disney about not publishing comic books for Marvel. I mean, there have been discussions about that. There are folks at Disney who do not want to publish comic books anymore because even though it's profitable, it's not that profitable. It doesn't make enough money for them, especially when you're looking at a movie, like a tentpole movie that costs them $250 million to make. The few $1 million that come in profit-wise for comic books, yeah, it's not worth their time. It's beneath them, I guess. And that is sort of how Warner Brothers looks at it too, now with AT&T owning them. Warner Brothers doesn't want to be in the comic book business. Warner Brothers wants to be in the character owning business. They want to own Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, but they don't really want to keep publishing comics. Comics are going to stick around. We're not going to see them suddenly disappear, but I will say I would not be shocked 10 years from now that we do not have comics, at least not in their current form. We might just see everything digital. And I think that would suck. I really do think it would suck. And I think there would be smaller companies that would still be publishing comics. A Great A says, watch IDW by DC. No, absolutely not. No, IDW bleeds money. Take a look to see how much money IDW has lost. I'm shocked IDW is still around. Every quarter, IDW loses millions of dollars. And I'm really shocked. So no, I don't see IDW buying DC. No offense. I mean, that's just how I see it. And yes, I do know they have a partnership, but IDW's also got a pretty good partnership with Marvel, republishing some of their like collector stuff for Marvel Comics. I wouldn't be shocked. Now, this is just very bizarre. I don't think we would see this happen, but it would not shock me to see Disney make a play to purchase DC and make some sort of arrangement to license out the characters to Warner Brothers to make movies. That would not shock me to see that. Because as far as I understand, I think the folks at Disney are still, granted, like I said, they don't want to really be in the comic book business either, but they're not as vehemently against it as the people who are now in charge of Warner's. So just share my thoughts. And yes, I know people are going to be like, what does this guy know? I don't know anything. I'm just giving you my gut reaction to what I've seen going on. But I feel bad for a lot of the people who have been let go. I won't be surprised to see. Now, I have not heard anything about this, but I would not be surprised to see Jeff Johns let go, or at least dropped way down in responsibilities. So, because I think there's a lot of some stories going around behind the scenes that Jeff Johns is not a very nice guy. But he's also one of these people who I think were put in a position that they weren't equipped to handle. Like Jim Lee. Jim Lee, great artist, great creator, publisher, I don't know. And I felt the same way about Joe Quesada over at Marvel. Joe seems like a good guy. Is he publisher kind of material? I don't know. All right, so that's it for tonight's show. Thank you very much, everybody, for swinging on by and checking us out. Good to have Jason Washburn from Talon Strike Studios swing in and hang out with us in chat and field questions about vinyl. I've got questions about vinyl too. Not answering any of my questions. No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. If you do want some reviews or some coverage, anything like that, Jason, by all means, as I mentioned before, reach on out and check out some of the reviews we do here at the Gaming Gang. We're getting ready to celebrate our 10th anniversary. Yes, a little more than 2 weeks from now, September 1st is going to mark the 10th anniversary of the Gaming Gang. One last thing I do want to mention, I will be talking to Elliot Miller, my best friend, used to be part of the Gaming Gang, about what we might be doing as far as Extra Life, if we are going to do anything for Extra Life this year. I really would like to do some sort of charity event. I just don't know what. Plus, I just really don't want to be tearing all the stuff apart from the duct tape studios here to try to bring over to some place to film live. So I don't know. We're gonna find out what happens probably in the next day or so. As I mentioned, floated this out there last night. Maybe do something where I run a role-playing game and have, maybe 5 different people join in, people who watch the show or follow the Gaming Gang have to make a donation, do something like that, and take it from there. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. So Jason says, hit him up. And Jason reached out to me on Twitter. Okay, you got it, Jason. I will touch base with you, and we'll see what we can get cooking. Anyway, as I mentioned, that's it for tonight. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, ring that bell. It'll notify you not only of when the Daily Dope streams live right here on YouTube, Monday through Thursday nights, but it'll also tell you when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Forbidden Lands, The Bitter Reach, which will also be out this weekend or before. Those of you who watched live tonight, thank you very much. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. So once again, everybody who watched live, thank you. I always appreciate you keeping me company here so I'm not just babbling on off into the ether, which is kind of what I'm doing anyway. But if you don't have an opportunity to watch live, maybe you're even watching on Memorex, I've got a soft spot in my heart for you folks too. I appreciate anybody taking some time out to give the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel a watch. All right, everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night / Thursday morning. I will be back tomorrow. And of course, as I've been closing out during this pandemic, please continue to do your best to be smart and stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.